What's going on, guys? It's your boy LQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ. Fire content only. And this is the Fantasy Football Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. Make sure you guys download the app, link in bio, prizepicks.com. Sign up today using promo code MMN. You guys be set up for success because they're matching up to $100. That's free money. Man, go get it, man. You put in 100, you get 100. Simple and easy money. So, have a great show for you guys today. I got some studs. I got some duds, and of course, the injury recap. We all hate the injury recap, but I got a few guys that I want to put on the stand. Are they the real deal, or are they a fluky player, fluky game? They're not the real deal. Playoffs are around the corner, people. We're flying through these weeks, so we got to put these guys on trial. Are they the real deal, or they're fluky? So I don't want to waste any more time, so let's get right into it. So let's start with the stud muffins. Woo, man. This is a dessert. If you face Jonathan Taylor this week, I feel bad for you. Go talk to a friend, vent, talk about your problems. This was a psychological battle going up against Jonathan Taylor. Luckily, I was not a victim this week, so we are great. Jonathan Taylor put up 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns, people. He was breaking records for the Colts. He went completely nuts today on that Buffalo defense. And listen, we honestly looked at the Buffalo defense as the number 1 defense overall. They were making big plays, making big splashes. But, man, they got embarrassed at their crib today. I mean, the Colts were the underdogs, going on an away game. But this was a huge upset. Jonathan Taylor just put the team on his back, put the defense on their back, and it was just crazy that he put up 5 touchdowns today. And he put up 53 fantasy points. Oof, that is hard to come back from if you were facing Jonathan Taylor. And I feel sorry for you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, man. Jonathan Taylor is looking like the 101 for the next season. I understand CMC still exists. I know he's a guy that can put up 30-plus fantasy points with no touchdowns. I know that is on the table for CMC. But Jonathan Taylor is making a very good case to be Mr. 101 in 2022. What do you guys feel about that? But moving on to the next stud. Stud muffin goes to Justin Jefferson, man. He came in with some swagger today. If you're watching, the pregame, if you're watching, his little interview he had before the game, he came in with some swagger. He had the energy. He just felt good about that game. And I feel as though, with him putting up 37 fantasy points, man, I definitely needed that out of Justin Jefferson. And also Kirk Cousins, he did his thing. I mean, he had that, important, basically drive where, he always throws interception, and they came out with the win. It came out to the end, the Packers didn't get the job done. So Kirk Cousins throwing that interception, kind of irrelevant, but it's kind of normal for him to do that. But again, Justin Jefferson, definitely a stud muffin, 37 fantasy points. That's exactly what we needed. Now, we're going to stick with the Jays. If you haven't noticed, Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, I'm going to put my boy Jalen Hurts, man. Jalen Hurts, 30 fantasy points. Crazy win at the crib. I definitely feel as though Jalen Hurts is going to be a league winner. He's a stud muffin, being that he put up 30 fantasy points. I feel as though this isn't easy with all the Jalen Hurts haters out there to swallow because they hate seeing this man win. He's a dual threat quarterback that has a nice, juicy playoff schedule. Please look at that playoff schedule. It is juicy, people, and always keep this in mind. Dual threat quarterbacks win championships, people. Jalen Hurts is going to be a league winner. And a stud muffin he is today, man. Getting it done on the ground, getting it done through the air, getting Devontae Smith involved, and him putting up big fantasy points as well. I definitely feel as though Jalen Hurts moving forward, you have to look at him as a serious contender, man. There is no, putting him on the bench and putting your second QB in or whatever the case may be. He's a start and forget, people. Start and forget Jalen Hurts. He is a stud muffin this week. So now we got to get to the duds, the guys that shit the bed, man. Like, didn't show up. I want to start with Dan Arnold. Now, I want to say going into this week, man, there was a lot of hype about Dan Arnold. I was part of that hype. I'm going to be honest. I felt as though he had a solid target share the last 3 weeks. He led the Jacksonville Jaguars in targets. Like, he beat out Marvin Jones, Chenault. And it's like, man, Dan Arnold coming in, making a splash, getting, the chemistry build up with T. Lawrence, but the Jacksonville Jaguars target their tight ends. 0 times today. 0. None. Nada. Not a peep. Not even the backups. Dan Arnold sold 0 targets today. I don't know why, but obviously the Jags are just an overall bad team. So that was my fault and our fault believing in any Jags player or believing in Urban Meyer to stick with what's working, because it's like, man, he had a healthy target share going into this week. The last 3 weeks, like I said, he was leading the Jags in targets. So it doesn't make sense why you don't stick with what's working. I mean, man, it is what it is. I don't know, but he put up a goose egg, a donut, a shit turd in the bed. So let's jump into the next dud, Jeff Wilson. Whew, man, 5 points. He put up 5 points today. He's another guy going into this week. They had some type of hype. I also was putting into a little bit of the hype saying that Jeff Wilson is the guy to play if Elijah Mitchell doesn't show up, which he didn't. Jeff Wilson was the guy, the running back one. But I knew it was curtains once we were seeing Deebo Samuel take snaps as a running back and being effective. So I knew, the writing was on the wall once I kept seeing Deebo in the backfield, lining up in the backfield, scoring touchdowns and et cetera, et cetera. And Jeff Wilson just didn't show up today. I feel as though we all were duped because, again, Kyle Shanahan on his shenanigans again. We even see Trey Sermon catching passes out of the backfield, which was annoying as well. So, Jeff Wilson moving forward, it may be a question mark putting him into starting lineups. I feel as though Elijah Mitchell may be back next week, depending on how that hand is or whatever, they want to do with him. If they want to ease him in, because I definitely feel as though Elijah Mitchell should be back next week, and then Jeff Wilson back in the past. So, it's just unfortunate this week. He was in a lot of starting lineups. I had a lot of starting similar questions this morning about Jeff Wilson or whoever else. I was leaning, 60, 40, 60% telling people to start Jeff Wilson, based on, the usage and an opportunity. But again, not that many fantasy points. And of course, a lot of people are probably mad. But moving on, the next dud, I kind of figured that Miles Sanders was going to be a dud this week, being that, he's just coming off of IR. We don't really know how he looks in this new running scheme that they're running, the new, rushing opportunities they're giving to their running backs. Jordan Howard's still there existing. Gainwell was a healthy scratch today, so no PPR upside there. So that was solely going to go to Sanders. But man, 6 fantasy points. Doesn't get the job done. I left him on the bench for a reason. I feel as though when guys come off of IR, they don't really, put up big fantasy points because they kind of get eased into it. But he started off good. It looked like he was having a great game, but then, the fumbles, man, that's really what kills momentum. That's really, what kills a running back. And we saw some Jordan Howard on the back end of the games, and it basically shaked out, them basically having an even split. So Jordan Howard is still being involved. He's still going to be the guy that's going to get the third down touches to if you need a first down, the red zone opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So Miles Sanders is looking like he's going to be capped for the rest of the season, but man, just unfortunate. You can't trust Eagles running backs. You could trust them just as much as a Patriots backfield or a San Fran backfield. It's kind of like a just complete fade. I only have like a few shares of Miles Sanders, so I'm not that really upset about it because the shares that I do have, I didn't start them. I went these couple of weeks without him, and then a couple of weeks before that when he was healthy, very disappointing. So it's either I made some moves or, I found the next guy up. So he's the dud of the week. So let's get to the veggies, the injury report, the injury recap. I do not like doing this, but we didn't have any crazy injuries this week. Justin Fields, he suffered a rib injury, which was weird on one of the plays where he tried to go for a first down, got wrapped up, and I guess he fell awkwardly where he has a rib injury. So no telling how long he's going to be out as well. But Andy Dalton stepped in, got the job done for our Mooney guys because Mooney put up big points today as well. But I don't feel as though, Andy Dalton can finish the rest of the season as a starter if Justin Fields is healthy. So moving on, A.J. Brown, he left the first quarter with a hand injury, came back. Not too sure how he shaked out, for a lot of fantasy owners out there who were, hoping that A.J. Brown would step up with Julio Jones out, but only 9 fantasy points. He low-key was right there on the dud list, but he was hurt. So he didn't end up going on the dud list just because of that. But Marcus Johnson, another Titan that was basically heating up. Last 2 weeks we've been seeing the target share go to him, seeing him get the targets, get the volume. That's what really matters. But he had a hamstring injury on a play that it was like a deep shot, and he kind of let up, grabbed this hamstring, and the rest is history. So that was the injury report. So let's move on to the next and last segment. So I explained a little bit before in the beginning. Are they the real deal, or is this just a fluke, man? Like, are these guys are going to be able to stay consistent? Are they going to show up in the playoffs for us when we need them? Are they just going to be, fluky? This is just a luck game, and it's not going to continue. So these guys are on stand. I want to start with Cam Newton. So Cam Newton's a special situation here. So a lot of super flex leagues, you were able to pick up Cam Newton. So you're probably thinking, hey, is this guy the real deal, or is this just a fluke? Even though they lost today, I know that matters to Cam Newton. I know that matters for a lot, but he had a very good game. 30 fantasy points, 2 throwing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns. I feel as though Cam Newton is the real deal. He's back. He's happy, and I love to see him be able to do the things that he do on offense with him and CMC, with DJ Moore, even getting Robbie Anderson involved as well, and then taking off out of the pocket, the rushing upside. So I feel as though, like I explained before, dual threat quarterbacks win championships. They win you leagues, man. I'm telling you, man, Cam Newton is the real deal going forward for the rest of the season. No, I'm not saying he's like a top 5 quarterback, but I'm just saying, man, a guy that's inside the top 10 or just on the outside of top 10, dual threat quarterbacks show up and show out every single week, being that they have the ground game and they have the pocket presence where they can extend plays and throw some nice touchdowns. That's what matters. So Cam Newton to me is the real deal. I'm not saying this is a fluke for him putting up 30 fantasy points in his first start, as a Carolina Panther in so many years. This is the real deal. Stamp it. They're going to play to his strengths. And with CMC healthy, this definitely helps Cam Newton like times 100. So I'm stamping him as the real deal. I got him in starting lineups moving forward for the rest of the season, definitely for my super flex leagues. And again, you guys, I don't know your leagues. I don't know your situations on teams, but I'm not telling you to start him if you have a Tom Brady or you're in a 1 quarterback league and you have like let's say a Justin Herbert. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if he fits into your lineup and he's going to help you clinch a playoff spot, get into that 6th seed, you play this man. He is the real deal. So moving on to another guy that's been flying under the radar kind of, and I got to say, one league where I'm hurting at running back, I feel very comfortable with Devontae Freeman. So I'm going to stamp him as the real deal. So he had 19 fantasy points. He's heavily involved in the passing game today. I feel as though with Lamar Jackson out, they need to lean on somebody. Mark Andrews had a big game. I know we are all waiting on Rashad Bateman to break out, but the recent news of Lamar Jackson being out, that kind of hindered that. But man, Devontae Freeman, 19 fantasy points today. I feel as though, him being involved in a pass game is a plus, especially when he's on the team that is the 3rd fewest in the NFL right now to target their running backs. That is a huge plus, man. I feel as though, we already know how the Ravens do with their offense. They don't pass to their running backs. But for Devontae Freeman, he's getting the job done through the air and on the ground. So I feel as though with him averaging 14.5 fantasy points per game, this is a real deal stamp. I love how he's a low-end RB2 going under the radar. He's a guy that was picked up off of waivers just probably like 3-4 weeks ago, and he's being consistent. That's what matters with guys like this. Guys that you can fit into your lineup, into your flex position or whatever the case may be, they're going to show up and show out for the playoffs. I hope Lamar Jackson's okay. Hopefully, the illness just passed and he's back in, starting lineups. He's back playing on the field. So hopefully everything shakes out fine because I definitely believe Devontae Freeman moving on for the rest of the season, he's the real deal. So moving on to my last guy. So if you follow me on Twitter at Real Deal Fantasy, you would know I'm not that big of a Brandon Ayuk fan. So let's talk about the recent sightings. So I feel as though last week with him putting up 5 fantasy points, that's kind of like his floor. Let's just say that. So his ceiling is what we saw today. So 7 for 7, 85 yards, and he had 21.5 fantasy points in PPR format. So you're probably thinking, hey, Brandon Ayuk is back. Brandon Ayuk is going to be legit for the rest of the season. So I'm just here to say you have to look at it as we see his floor more times than we see the ceiling. We see him get completely schemed out because he fumbles or he doesn't do the right blocking assignment, whatever the case may be. We see him get punished more times than not on the offense, and that is where we have trust issues. I can't trust a guy like this that's on an offense where he gets schemed out or we're waiting on a Kittle injury or a Deebo Samuel injury to be, fantasy relevant. And it's like, come on, man. They faced the Jags today. So it's kind of like he faced a bottom tier, unmotivated defense. So of course, all three of these offense pass catchers are going to put up big points. So I feel as though if Brandon Ayuk didn't show up today, then he would be completely garbage. So he's not. He's a good wide receiver. I feel as though with opportunity, he could definitely show up and show out. But the problem is, man, I'm telling you, more times than not, he's on your bench. He's not in starting lineups unless you're in a serious situation where he fits into your starting lineups every single week and you have no choice. Then okay, cool. But what I'm saying is, man, playoffs are around the corner. I need guys I can trust. So I definitely feel like this 21-point game is a fluke. I understand last week he put up 5 and the week before that he put up 17. But look at the situations. 2 weeks ago, Deebo Samuel was banged up. 2 weeks ago, Kittle was just getting back into, routines, just getting back to full usage. So I feel as though, man, it's based on situation with Brandon Ayuk. It's based on matchups, etc. So just be cautious if you're going to start him. So again, I feel as though he can be the real deal, but nah. I feel like this game in particular is a fluke game. We have to see more consistency with Brandon Ayuk for us to really trust him, week in and week out. So that's all I really got about him. I feel as though, again, you got to be cautious with him. I wouldn't be, depending on him in the playoffs as like a 100% guy. I don't want Brandon Ayuk to be dependent on as if, he needs to win you your weeks or win you this game, because you're going to be very disappointed, man. So please play with caution. So that wraps up another great episode. I definitely want you guys to subscribe. I definitely need you guys to follow me on Twitter as well, Real Deal Fantasy, and hit that link in the bio. Sign up to prizepicks.com using promo code MMN, and you guys will be set up for success. It's free money. You put in 100, you get 100. It's that simple, man. So please make sure you check out prizepicks.com right now. Signing up using promo code MMN. You guys will be ready to bring home the gold. So that wraps up the episode, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.